Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of the MAASCAST. We're here to bring you the best quarantine content and talk physician life, swimming, and marathon training. In today's podcast, we will be interviewing a hospital doctor who is very physically active and is also my dad.
It's delicious.
Alright, so before I begin the podcast, I just want to let you guys know that this podcast is on Apple Podcast. So if you guys are on the go and you don't want to watch YouTube, you can listen to this on Apple Podcasts and just turn your phone off and enjoy. Please welcome our guest for the MAASCAST, radiologist doctor at Holland Hospital, completed 37 marathons. He's a former swimmer and my dad, and also a medical science professor at Michigan State University, Ed Moss. Woo!
All right, thank you very much, Kevin.
You're welcome. So, how does it feel to be on the podcast for the first time?
I'm a little nervous, but excited.
Yeah, so on the last podcast, you were sitting in our living room just listening, so you feel fresh and ready?
I think so.
Good.
I think so.
Good. So, getting on to the medical topic, what made you want to go into the medical profession and help others?
So, in college, I really enjoyed biomedical engineering. That's what I studied at Iowa, and I'm a lifelong Iowa fan since then. And I was on the pre-med track in the biomedical engineering. So I enjoyed the anatomy, the physiology, and found that fascinating. In one of my summers, I got to do a rotation through a hospital where I follow a different doctor each week. And on that rotations, I really found it to be a fascinating career.
Yeah.
Be able to work in medicine, do different things, be able to help people, and apply some of the sciences, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So that's radiology he's talking about. And also after you completed medical school, so what made you decide radiology as like your primary field? So like we know you liked it, but like why? Why did you like it so much rather than like surgeons? You know, everyone grows up and wants to be a surgeon, but what made you want to be a radiologist?
Well, a couple things. One, the positive of radiology, I like being a detective. So we look at images, say a CAT scan. We look at the images, we have to figure out what do these images tell us to find out what's causing the pain. So we have a checklist like a pilot would have. We check all the things. How does the liver look? How does the spleen look? How do the kidneys look? How about the appendix? We look at all those things. We look at the bones and try and figure out what is the cause of the pain. We look at the history, look at the findings, and then we report everything we see on the images. And I find that to be very rewarding.
Okay. So talking about the elephant in the room, the COVID-19, that's had a huge effect on hospitals, I can only imagine, but tell us your like everyday working life. Like how does the COVID-19 affect your work and affect how you produce things, affect how you got things done, and just, yeah.
One of the big impacts for COVID-19 on my work is because it's a respiratory infection. One of the parts of our job, we look at the effect of when someone goes on a respirator, they're intubated, where they put a tube right into their windpipe, into their trachea, and they put it in and they can't see exactly where it is. So we get a chest x-ray to show the positioning. And that's one of the things I report. I look at the chest x-ray, find out where the endotracheal tube is, and report it. They want an optimal position in the trachea. Sometimes it goes a little bit too far into one main stem bronchus on one side or the other, and that doesn't aerate the whole lungs.
Yeah. So
that's become an important part of what we do on the patient on a respirator. They have a chest x-ray every day, check the position of the tubing. We also look for complications of the ventilator. Air can be trapped. Air should normally just go into the airways in the lungs, but it can be trapped between the lung itself and the chest wall. Okay. And it's called a pneumothorax, and we look for a complication such as a pneumothorax.
Yeah. And talking about the x-rays, does that so like COVID-19, you'd think all these people getting sick, does that so your hospital, does that make the cases go way up? Are you on a heavy workload, or is it like, I'd assume it's not, but are you on a heavy workload?
That's a great question. So what our hospital, we're in Holland, Michigan. We're on the west side of the state. And right now, fortunately, we haven't been affected as heavily as other areas. So our workload, the hospital has eliminated all elective and preventative type procedures to prepare just in case we are hit hard.
Can you explain those procedures? What do those mean?
Sure.
Electives.
So an elective procedure, say you or I had severe back pain and it's not going away. And typically without COVID, we would go in and one of the options is have an MRI or an X-ray, try and work up that back pain, see what's causing it. Is it a disc herniation? Is it a fracture? And if it's not emergent, we're just having this long-standing back pain, in the past, we would work that up. But now that's on hold.
Okay.
Other things are preventative care. People are recommended over 40 to have a mammogram every year, but that's all on hold. It's preventative to look for cancer. We're not doing any mammograms now. So a lot of the things we typically do, we're not doing to have more people available for COVID-19.
Okay. So what does this mean? Like your cases, like your cases, X-rays, does this, like, how is this affected? So I know the audience doesn't know. So explain how you haven't been able to go to work as much because of this elective procedures being dropped out, and how, because the Holland Hospital, I'll say for you, they already have 31 COVID-19 cases at the hospital that he works at. So, and all the electives are dropped, all the elective, like the back pain procedures, all that. So how does that affect the number of cases? And I know you have some reserve days. Can you explain those?
Yes. So right now, like this week, I had a reserve day today, and I also had one on Tuesday. Yeah. So I'm not on vacation, because if it gets very busy, they'll call me in. I can go in and read the cases and help. But the numbers are down so low, our case lists are down so much. There's not, at this point, enough work for everybody. Yeah. So numbers now are low, and hopefully with everyone staying safe and staying at home, we can stay low and look flatten the curve and not have a crisis here in Holland.
Yeah, and then also talking about that, I'll notice from personal experience, most days you come home at like, your work's supposed to end at 5, you come home at like 6:30, maybe 7 because there's a heavy workload. But today, these days you come home at 5:15. So hopefully it doesn't get bad enough where you gotta stay and gotta help read those cases for COVID-19.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we're like not going to the hospital for, is in case of that.
Exactly. We're to keep people home and keeping the hospitals at full capacity. They're ready to handle this if they have to.
Yeah. Speaking of being ready to handle this, so getting into the hospital, I'm sure they have precautions, or how is it different getting into the hospital?
Very different.
Yeah.
In the olden days meaning 3 weeks ago, we would just walk in and my badge opens up the locked door and I go in and work. But now there's only certain doors to the hospital that are open, and everyone is monitored with a worker, typically a nurse, and we get screened. Everyone entering the hospital gets screened, and we have to have our temperature taken, answer a few questions if we've been exposed to antibiotics.
What happens if you have a high temperature?
You can't. If I'm elevated temperature, I can't enter the hospital.
Okay. What happens like the next days if you have a high temperature one day? What happens the next day?
So I'll be quarantined for 14 days. So if I show up to work with a fever, I'm out for the next 2 weeks just to be sure I don't pass it on to any of my coworkers or any patients.
Okay. So also being like, because of that, like referring to what I said back, there's 31 cases as of 3 days ago. Was that? You know the updated number.
I don't have that.
You don't. 31 cases as of 3 days ago, so it might be up now. Are you nervous at all carrying this to like your family or your kids?
Of course, everyone's nervous, and we try and just follow the good hygiene practices. Wash your hands frequently and wear a mask whenever we're in the hospital, and hopefully we don't catch it.
Yeah, and yeah. So enough of COVID-19, but swimming topics. I know you were a swimmer back in the day, like good 35 years ago. So explain that. I know his big glory days was his conference championship 50 freestyle.
Yes. Explain
that race for us.
I've told the kids, I've told the audience, my favorite race was at high school. I got to win conference with a 23.74, which is super. I felt it was super fast. But now all my kids are way faster. Even my daughter is about to beat that time soon, I bet. So that was my big deal. It was a 50 free. I was more a sprinter in swimming, and the kids have long surpassed those times and are much faster than that now.
23.74 with no training. Explain your training. Did you swim year round, or was it just, or how much preparation and effort did you put into swimming when you were?
Well, it felt like a lot of the time, but now compared to what kids do these days, a lot of your audience probably swims year round with a club. weight trains and does dry land.
Weight training? Did you do weight training?
No weight training to speak of.
Yeah. Now, do you lift weights now?
Yeah, I mean, fairly regularly, like once a month.
Once a month.
But I lift a little bit. I try and do bench press and curls and pull-ups. And Kevin's introduced me to some rows, just the opposite of a bench press. But you do bench press. Inverted rows. So I'm doing those. They're very hard, very sore.
Yeah. So, your kids, they're all, or I mean, we're all into swimming. So, did you expect this, like right when you were having kids? Did you expect this to be your like everyday life when you were 20 years in the future?
Not at all. This is totally a blessing. It's been so amazing watching you guys all swim so fast. But as a parent, like every parent, you want your kids to be very successful at everything they do. So I love getting to coach you guys in baseball, basketball, soccer, even football. And like every parent, I'm envisioning you playing football for Iowa, basketball for Iowa, and I was wondering, how is he going to make this work? Can he swim for Iowa and play football and basketball? So, but it all kind of...
Iowa, he went to school at Iowa. So
that was my undergrad. So that's my favorite.
Yeah. And then talking about all those sports, did you ever have any personal experiences with those sports, or is it just the love that your family's carried on to you?
Yeah, more probably just so in high school, running and swimming were my big races. I did track, cross country, and swimming were my big things.
Yeah.
And younger was some soccer, but I love watching football. So I love watching you guys play that and basketball.
That's what's got all of us are big football fans, minus my sister, but we're all big football fans. So yeah. And then I know sports. You love sports, and now you do a lot of running. So was this always a thing, or always a part of your life, or what made you love running?
I found cross country in high school was very fun. To start out, when I was a freshman in high school, I was in the fall on the soccer team. I really enjoyed that. The winter was swimming, and then in the spring I ran track. And I ran the mile, mostly in the half mile, and sometimes the 2 mile. Okay. And my track coach was also the cross country coach. So at the end of it, he said, "Ad, you're a great runner. You did so well in this. You have to run cross country. You'll love it."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Okay, I'll try it." And so I ran cross country the following fall instead of soccer, and he was right. Totally loved it. We got to run on golf courses and forest preserves. We'd run in the rain, and it was super fun. I saw some success, and I really enjoyed it. So from that year on, I totally had the bug for running.
Yeah, bug for running. So what did the bug for running turn into in the future, like years ahead?
So, to brag a little bit, my mile time, I got down to a 4:32, so a really fast mile in high school, 4:32 mile. I got to a 2:02 half mile. Those are the numbers I brag about. But then I moved on. I ran locally. We have a 15.5 mile race in Grand Rapids, not very far from here. And then I built up to a full marathon. Yeah. So I've done, as you said in the intro, 37 marathons. I just love running marathons, and met a lot of great people that I get to train with and run with.
Yeah, 37 marathons. I know that's a lot, 26.2 miles. But it kind of seems in the past few days, I mean, just last week he ran, how many miles? 100?
Most ever. 103 miles.
103 miles in 1 week.
In a 7-day stretch.
So that's a lot. And I know you run 20 miles all the time. But I want to focus on the future a little bit. So I think it's next summer. He's got a big race coming up. I think it's 56 miles, so over double than a marathon. That's what he's planning on doing. And we're really helping him helping him get ready for it. But
I'm very nervous about that.
Talk about that for us.
So it's a 56-mile race. One of my good training buddies, my friend Rick, he's done this Comrades Marathon in South Africa 5 times. 56 miles. It's really an ultra marathon because it's so far. The typical marathon is 26.2 miles, but this one's 56 miles. And the thing that makes me nervous, Kevin, is that I've done 37 marathons and probably 35 of them I felt pretty lousy at the end, pretty tired at really mile 20. So the last 6 miles are very, very hard. So I'm not quite sure what I'm thinking that I could handle 56.
Talking about those 35, you said 35, 37 minus 35 is 2. What was different in the training of those 2 marathons that made you not feel tired in those marathons at the end of the race?
I think you hit on something that I need to take to heart. More mileage, if I run more, if I'm better prepared, then the marathon is much easier. Yeah. So if I get my long runs on the weekend, I got to do at least 3 20-mile runs usually 7 weeks before the marathon, 5 weeks before, 3 weeks before. I want to get at least 20 miles in. And also once a week to get on a track and do speed work and just go faster on the track.
Yeah.
I think those things have really helped the training where I don't feel so lousy at mile 20.
And talk about feeling lousy. A couple of years ago, I got a call. We called you to see how you did after the race, and we got the sad news that you dropped out of the marathon. I know this is a very hard point for you, but was this moment in life, was it like motivating for you in the future? Like, did it help your training? Did it help you like get ready for other races?
Kevin, this is one of those things we like to keep on the down low. The audience doesn't want to hear about this, but I'm trying to keep it on the down low. Yeah, but it has. I got so much grief from everyone.
Yeah.
So it was the Chicago Marathon 2012, and I thought I'm going to go for Boston qualifying time, go very fast. But about 10, 11 miles into it, I was redlining. I was so tired. I was holding that pace, but there's no way I could keep it up. And I was playing mental games with myself saying, I'll just keep this up through mile 13. I'll cross through the mat so everyone following me can see I finished at least half the marathon. And then I'll just stop because I'm right near my hotel. I can relax, get something to eat, and no one will ever know. And that's what I'm thinking. But immediately, like right when it happened, everybody knew. Like what happened? Jenna knew, and then I came to pick her up from cross country the next day. Her coach knew. They all asked me what happened. So it was just very embarrassing. And then since then, you're right, that has motivated me. I don't want to go through that grief again.
Yeah.
So I try not to drop out of any more since then.
Yeah, and then I know, talking about dropping out a little bit, I explained the EDMA shortcut, explained how it happened.
No!
I know, I don't really know that much about it, I just know the name, I know the story. But explain that story for us.
Okay. You're killing me. So my friend Rick that I run with, I train with a lot, he's a pace director for a Grand Rapids Marathon. And
pace director, explain that.
So he organizes pacers. If you want to know a certain time, say you want to run a 2:59 marathon, there'll be a pace group you could jump in, and they'll carry a sign, and they'll run the 2:59 marathon. So if that's your time, you just hang on to that group, and it makes it much easier.
Yeah.
So there's several groups, maybe, 7 or 8 different groups that have different times. And for each group, they have a couple pacers that will run the half marathon, and a couple that will run the full marathon. And it's all predetermined ahead of time. They have a couple pacers that are planning on doing a half, a couple that are planning on doing the full. So one year I was assigned to the group with another pacer to run the full, to pace the full marathon. And that particular year, the way I like to tell the story is we had a lot of runners that were really struggling that wanted to do the half. And I was talking with some of them, and what I like to tell people is that they were really struggling and need one extra pacer to do the half instead of the full. So I figured I would help them. It's a little bit different course. I'd say and encourage the runners during the half. And just like with the other thing, who's gonna know? No one's ever gonna know, right?
Yeah.
So I did the half, and I found out everybody knew. My friend Rick found out like almost immediately that I didn't do it as it was assigned. And so that was kind of rough. And I've learned from that. I learned this is something you shouldn't do. If you really do the right thing is what you should always do.
Yeah.
And quite a few people learned. And every year, this story is told at the pacer meeting. That if you're assigned to do the full, we need you to do the full. So I can be an example of what not to do.
Yeah, and then is there a sign posted up every year on the same
embarrassingly,
spot?
my friend Nancy, whose kids Connor and Carissa, they helped make a great sign that says the EDMA shortcut where the turnoff is for the half marathon. So it's quite embarrassing. Still to this day that goes up, and I get a little bit of ribbing for that. So it's all good learning experience.
And then so still on the running topic, I know for swimming at least we need for the taper meet. Obviously, your taper meet would be the marathon. So for our taper meet, we wear tech suits. But for you, what makes the difference in your final running? Like, do you have a tech suit that you spend quick $300-$400 on to make the final race really good, or how does that work?
This is something I want to keep on the down low too, because you don't want everyone to do this. But there's these new shoes. I guess it's kind of out of the bag now. But these shoes called Vaporfly or Nike 4%.
Yeah.
You wear these Nike 4%s and you use 4% less energy, and it's made a world of difference.
Okay.
I wore them. The worker told me they have a 50-mile ship. They're good for 50 miles. So I wore them for 2 marathons last year, and they were 2 of my best marathons in ages.
Yeah.
I wore them for the base year in Chicago, so I put on 52 miles on those shoes, and they're cushy. They have a carbon fiber spring, so
just
great.
Talking about those shoes, I wore them this morning for the first time. I got them on just expecting to be like normal running shoes, but The Nike Vaporflies, they are something different. Like I tried them on, and it was like I was jumping on a trampoline. It was so cushy. Not a trampoline because those are like hard, but I'd say a foam pit. That's the right word. A foam pit. It was so sweet.
So I love those shoes. So that's the equivalent of like a swimmer wearing a tech suit. Wearing these Vaporflies. They're very expensive, but it really helps your time.
Yeah. And then talking about the Alabama logo on your sweater. So what made you love Alabama, and how did that come into your life?
So Kyle, your brother, is our oldest, and when he started looking at colleges, it was super fun to help him go for colleges. And I got to go on some of his visits with him, and of course, I wanted to go to Iowa because that's where I went. And we got to go on that visit with him. It was so much fun. We just loved it. And we went on the visit. It was just the best visit ever. I thought, is this where you want to go? And Kyle isn't a big fan of the snow and the cold, and so he ended up not picking that one. So Iowa was kind of out, but then I got to go on the Alabama visit too. And if he's not going to go to Iowa, Alabama's the best place in the world. The most beautiful campus I've ever seen. Coaches were great, and football team was fantastic. And since he's been there, it's been so much fun.
Yeah. And then talking on the Iowa train again, tell me, what'd you do at Iowa to occupy your time? Like, what were some hobbies?
So
I know one of them that a lot of you are going to find entertaining. So explain that one.
Okay. So I wasn't quite as athletic as you guys to be on a sports team.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on the track or cross country or swim team, but I was a cheerleader. So that was great. I got to be a cheerleader for Iowa. I got to go on the football game, go on bowl games, be on the field, and learned some gymnastics. And just had a riot doing that. So much fun.
So you say learn some gymnastics, but most people that are on the cheerleading team, they already know that they have to try out. Right. Explain how you managed your way to get on to the cheerleading team that is pretty competitive.
Very competitive. A lot of people come out to try out to be on the team, and luckily a couple of my buddies I knew from the gym. I'd lived with them, and they said they'd help me. So I worked with my friends, and they taught me some flips, taught me a few things, and went to the tryout. And luckily, my friend Tommy, who taught me a lot of gymnastics, was one of the captains. And part of the tryout was your interview, how well you would fit in and represent the school. Yeah. And I think I scored really well in the interview, because I don't think I scored very well in the gymnastics or the stunts or the timing. But I think my interview carried me. Yeah. So that was very helpful.
I know I'm going to reflect on a past story, not performing well in the stunts. I know on national television this got caught. And then a lot of people from the student section saw this. Yes. What happened one time when you tried to do, what was it, a back handspring?
So round off back handspring. So you're running up, you do a round off, and then you go right into a back handspring. And the problem is if you're going kind of quick, the momentum can carry you over. So you can land the back handspring, but then if you stumble a little bit, you can fall onto your bottom. It happened to me. I got right up and I figured nobody would know. But then as I go on to school the next day, or the following Monday and next week, did I start the game? Yeah, I saw you land on your bottom. No! So it's a little embarrassing.
Was that the terminology they used? Bottom?
Might have been, yeah.
It was?
Yeah, college kids, they say bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, and then, so you said that a lot, that nobody would know. Is this something you just live a part of, or is it just a habit?
Yeah, you're right. So there are some great lessons. You know, the things we talked about. I mean, everything you do, you really do the right thing, and hopefully you guys can learn from my lessons. This is great.
Yeah, that's great. So, talking about what you love about swimming. So, I know this is a swimming podcast. So, what made you get into swimming? Like, were your friends that loved it, or was it your parents, or what made you get into it? Because I know. Our mom, her mom made her get into swimming because her mom was afraid, of like drowning and all that. Was that the same for you, or what made you join the swim team?
You know, when I grew up in Arlington Heights, Illinois, it's a suburb of Chicago, and there weren't big lakes like right here. We live within a mile of Lake Mac, Lake Michigan. We have lakes all over, so drowning is more of a concern here, really. And it wasn't so much a fear of drowning because there weren't many places to drown, really. Yeah. But there's the competitive nature was a lot of fun. Yeah. I was on the Arlington Alligators and got to compete and really enjoyed that. Yeah. So I think there's more just a competitive sport to participate in.
Talking about being competitive, I know all of your like pools. I mean, in Illinois, compared to the ones we have here, and still in Illinois, they're not like that great. But like. How is that different in Illinois, the pools, compared to like the pools you found here, like the pools in Florida, or all those?
That's a great question. We are blessed. If you guys out there need a place to live, come to Holland, Michigan. This has the best pools ever. Our high school, our West Ottawa school system, has 2 pools. So we have a pool at the high school and another one at the middle school. My school didn't have a pool in Arlington Heights. A lot of high schools in Chicago don't have pools. So you'd have, like, we would go train in another school's pool at off hours.
And that's because like all the space, there's not
sounds more
space like the pools. They take up a lot of space and it's hard to build. But
exactly. So around here we have so much room. We have the pools here. We have the Holland Aquatic Center with a 50-meter pool, and between Calvin's pool and Jennison,
Calvin College and Jennison High School,
we have 50-meter pools, quite a few of them. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to be in a great pool and a great facility here.
Yeah, and then explain a little bit on your swimming knowledge. You were at the 2016 trials.
Oh yeah.
And you saw Michael Phelps swim. You were at the you were sitting right behind Michael Phelps' mom at 2015 Nationals.
Yes.
Explain that experience for me, because I know the week before that we were there for our oldest brother Kyle, his junior nationals. He had a goal of making Olympic trials, and he did. He made the meet, and he got to swim at nationals the next week. So explain that experience. You sitting right behind.
So that was great. So we were all there together for junior nationals, watching Kyle swim. This was in Texas, and they had an amazing pool, an outdoor venue with seating on both sides.
It was in that's where Nitro swims, right? Nitro.
Maybe.
Might be Nitro. What was that? San Antonio.
I think it was San Antonio. 10,000 seating, 10,000 seats, just absolutely incredible. So Kyle gets to come back the next week for nationals. So I went with him to watch, and I got my tickets, and it just happened to be right behind Michael Phelps' mom. So this is super exciting. Michael Phelps is there. My son Kyle got to be in the meet, and I think Devin Nowicki's in the meet, and they took a picture, or at least Devin did, with Michael. Kyle's right there, and I was right behind Michael's mom, and I've seen her on TV at meets. This is super exciting.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
And then talking about the swims and how exciting that was. At what point in your life did you actually find swimming exciting? I know you were exciting for the kids, like us. You were excited about that, but what made like the general sports exciting to watch people swim?
I think the big step for me that made it so much more exciting is watching once you got to high school.
Yeah.
I think watching the age group meets, it's totally fun watching you guys cheer for you and everything.
Age group is like, what is that, 12 and under?
Yeah.
12 and under.
But when you be in high school, watching the whole team and cheering for the team to beat our rivals, Rockford and then Hudsonville and now Detroit Catholic Central.
These are all teams in Michigan that we've
had rivals with and meets with. That to me made it super fun. I mean, this just past year, the audience probably already knows, but your team with Derek and you up against Detroit Catholic Central, West Ottawa, this is one of the most exciting meets ever. State championship. It's right here at the Holland Aquatic Center.
Yeah.
And comes down to the final race. We're up by 2 points. It's 208 to 206.
Yeah. So this last relay, it's going to be the meet, and yeah.
Yeah. So it comes down to this: the winner of the winner of the relay gets 40 points, and second place gets 34. So there's a 6-point swing, and we're only up by 2. So if Detroit Catholic Central beats us, they win the whole state championship in one relay.
And if we win the whole thing.
Yes. So that was one of the most exciting races ever. Maybe
yeah, I'll play it somewhere. Maybe
you can show them at the end of this podcast.
No, right here. We're finishing. There we go. And we are in the lane ahead, and we just won. So that, as you can see, we're all excited. Everyone in the stands like this.
Yes.
And yeah, it was really exciting. I was
6/100ths of a second.
And for that meet, I was on the first 2 relays, so I was able to be on the side cheering, so I couldn't really do much, but it was so exciting.
Yeah, and you see us in the stands. The fans were super excited too. Just an amazing meet, so much fun. I think the team sport aspect of it just adds another element to make it that much more exciting.
Yeah, and then swimming generally isn't a team sport. What in your mind makes swimming a team sport?
I think a couple things. The team points, adding that all together.
Yeah,
that's one aspect of it. But
that's just for high school though. So for like Team USA for the Olympics, I know that's representing your flag. You need to know that. But what about that?
The relays too.
The relays.
The relays is always part of the excitement. I love watching the relays.
Yeah.
And watching. Go back to the state meet again. Watching the medley relay when you guys had that 1:31:01, one of the second or third fastest time in the state of Michigan ever. just super exciting watching all 4 of you go, and you'd be on there with your brother. That's every parent's dream. Their kids together in the same relay, representing the school, the team. That's a lot of fun.
That was awesome. So so you said swimming, but explain. I know I've talked about sports in the past, but what sports did you swim? Or I mean, what sports did you play other than swimming back in high school?
So,
or what did you find interesting?
You know, the ones I carried the longest were running.
Well, running and swimming, because you still swim time to time.
So I played soccer. I played a midfielder in soccer up through my freshman year of high school, and I played that. I also like basketball and baseball, but those careers got retired earlier. I wasn't quite as successful. Didn't see as much. Maybe didn't have as much skill in those days.
Talking about basketball, I know your brother actually he wanted to help you out a little bit, make a mixtape of you to show some people about basketball. Explain how that mixtape turned out.
Oh my gosh! So this is how brothers work. My brother Dave, he's pretty good with the videos, making clips. He says, just take a lot of shots. We'll just cut out all the bad ones and keep the good shots and make a great mixtape. So I'm like, okay, so we're at the park, just shooting shots, and it doesn't matter if we make them or not, because he's going to cut all the bad ones. But it turns out he never cut all the bad ones. So this mixtape doesn't make me look so spectacular.
Did he cut the good ones?
There weren't that many. They just went together. So he sees all the bad shots, and it wasn't quite the tape I wanted people to see.
Yeah, and it was at the end, the pretty much end of your
That was near the end of my basketball career, yeah.
Okay. And then the last topic for today. I know diet is a huge thing for running.
Oh, yeah.
Huge thing to cut down. Runners usually are super light, super slim. Usually they don't lift as much as you to try to look big, but that's something unique about you. But what is your diet looking like today to get fit for running?
So that's a very important point. You know, I try and eat healthy. As a runner, it's a critical thing to eat healthy. Same with swimmers. But for us, for running, it's advantageous to be lighter. You can go a little bit faster, and any amount you weigh over your optimal weight slows you down a little bit. So trying to eat healthy is key. Lots of fruits and vegetables and healthy food. The problem is that I like some food that isn't as healthy. So it's a balance.
Okay. Cool, man. Thanks so much for being on
Air Handshake. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, audience.
Thanks, audience. If you want to have a question for us for the next podcast, then you can leave a comment down below. I'll make sure to ask that. And also make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And we'll see you next Monday on the MAASCAST. So yeah, thanks.